Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're talking about Zacama, Primal Calamity, or as I like to call him, Zacama, who makes butts pucker. Because if there's one thing we're doing today, we're getting primal. We're fulfilling some very basic needs. And if you're under the age of 18, you may want to cover your ears because it's going to get a little hot in here. This one's for you, Soundquill. Let's do it. Step 1 is so important in Zacama because you want to make sure that everyone is able to participate. Mutual satisfaction is key here. If the deck wants to do anything, it wants to generate as much pleasure, mana, as possible. And so that's why I'm playing spells like Tempt with Discovery, because it allows everyone to participate. There aren't many cards in the game that are going to let you search for any specific land and put it onto the battlefield straight away. Any experienced player who's played against Zacama knows what you're trying to do, and they realize that this isn't a mutually beneficial transaction. So you kind of have to hide your hand a little bit, or, just whip it out, whip the Sanctum of Eternity out, and see where things go, because you're gonna paint a big old target right on your back. There's also just a strictly better option with crop rotation. Sacrifice a land and go get one at instant speed. You're able to fetch for 1 mana your combo piece and put it onto the battlefield, and when people see it come out, they know something's up, so you better be doing it at an advantageous time. Don't be surprised if your crop rotation or Sylvan Scrying or Tempt with Discovery are countered. The other card that I'm playing that makes sure that everyone is able to participate and that everyone is able to experience maximum pleasure, mana, is Collective Voyage. Now, you can play this on your turn 2 and see if anyone wants to feed into it. There are some players who are going to pay into it because they get the untap with that mana and they may be wanting to do something with it. Hopefully, what you're going to be doing, like dropping a big old bad 9/9 Elder Dinosaur, is going to be more beneficial than what they've already done with it. These are the cards that sort of help you get where you're going, but then they kind of break the mood as well, so you kind of have to be careful with that. Now, when it comes to mutual satisfaction, there's nothing more satisfying than double mana. Giving everybody double mana is a great way to be a team player when you're in the middle of Foreplay. That's why I'm playing cards like Heartbeat of Spring and Overabundance. Because Overabundance is a little bit spikier, but everybody loves a good pinch every now and again, and that one just hits the spot. Another card that I'm playing that allows everyone to flourish is Dictate of Karametra. If it's turn 6 or later, and you're flashing in a Dictate of Karametra on your opponent's end step, there's a good chance the game just ends after that if you haven't missed a land drop. You're then going to be generating at least 12 mana every single turn. That means I can start looping infinitely because you only need 11 as long as you have one of your pieces, Temur Sabertooth or Sanctum of Eternity. At the end of the day, while it's great to dish out that mutual satisfaction, you have to make sure you get yours. And that's why I'm running exclusive mana doubling for myself, like Nyxbloom Ancient or Regal Behemoth, Mirari's Wake, Zendikar Resurgent, which has card draw stapled to it. Everyone should be using protection. That is just a no-brainer. And in this deck, it is more important than others. Because the deck revolves around the commander so heavily, Zacama needs to hit the battlefield and you have to be able to protect your play. But how do we do that, Evan? How do we use protection to maximum efficiency? Let me tell you. The first one is an instant called Savage Summoning. For 1 green, this spell can't be countered. And then the next creature spell you would cast, you can cast it as though it had flash. That spell can't be countered, and it enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter. Now that last part is negligible. It does not matter. What matters is that Zacama can't be countered and he's going to enter the battlefield. You're going to get that untap trigger. There are a lot of different brands of protection and you have to choose which one is right for you. And that's why I'm playing Destiny Spinner. Destiny Spinner is going to protect my enchantment spells from being countered along with my creature spells. And for 2 mana, there isn't anything out there that's more efficient than this. So it's a no-brainer to include in the deck especially when you're focusing on mana doubling to get where you need to go. With protection in the name, Teferi's protection is just a no-brainer. The card is justified for its price tag because it is so flexible. It saves you so many times. Go ahead and cast Teferi's protection and phase out all of your permanents. You're basically pulling the rug out from all of your opponents who are expecting to have double mana for the rest of their turns. So if you weren't able to win the turn before, you should be able to win now. And Teferi's protection is a great safeguard against wipes and ultimately disruption. There are a few other brands of protection that I recommend that I also run in this deck, and that's Tybalt's Trickery, Domri Anarchabolus, and Vexing Shusher. Tybalt's Trickery is amazing because as long as whoever you are countering doesn't flip into another counter spell, that doesn't matter. You're still getting the cast off Zacama or, that instant speed removal, like when you're aiming to bounce Zacama back to your hand. If you can stop that from happening, it doesn't matter what they get in return. Domri Anarchabolus is a secret MVP in this deck because it is a planeswalker that is non-threatening to your opponent's board state while allowing you to ramp and protecting your play. Creature spells you control cannot be countered as long as you're +1ing during the turn. It is just great for value as a 3-mana planeswalker. At this point, you've been building your board state up. You've been building and building and building and edging and edging and edging to the climax because you're playing Zacama and you're ready to explode. The real question is, how do we cash in on the climax? Some of the most common combos involve Temur Sabertooth and Sanctum of Eternity, because if you can generate 11 mana or more in a single turn, you can loop Zacama infinitely, bouncing him up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and we all love when things are bouncing up and down. If you look really, really closely, you'll realize that Zacama is a sub, and he's screaming, "Abuse me! Abuse me!" And how do we do that, Zacama? How do we abuse you? How do we take advantage of you bouncing up and down, up and down, up and down? Now, how do we cash in on that? What are our win conditions? The first 2 win conditions, you could play Blind Obedience, and as long as you have an additional mana generating from your loop of bouncing Zacama up and down, you're going to be able to extort the entire table and win outright. The other option is Impact Tremors, and you can do this with 1 mana less from your loop in order to kill the table, because you don't need that additional mana to extort everybody. You can do this as long as you have that 11 or more mana being generated. In order to take advantage of the loop, if you aren't drawing cards or accessing more resources, then you're just stuck. You're stuck looping and you're edging and you can't really get to the finish line. So there's a new card from Adventures in the Hidden Realms that is just amazing for this deck, and that is the Bard class. For a green and a red enchantment, that first level, forget about it. It does not even matter. But that second level is where things start to get spicy, because every legendary spell is going to cost a green and a red less, and that only affects colored mana. But that doesn't matter, because Zacama is now a 7-drop, and you've just gotten to your combo that much sooner. If you're then able to get to it that much sooner, you're more than likely able to generate infinite mana. And so once you've generated infinite mana, go ahead and level Bard class up again. And now, every time you're casting Zacama, you're exiling the top 2 cards of your library, and you can play them this turn. And so you've just accessed your entire library. Note that the 3rd level to the Bard class is a mandatory effect. You're going to have to exile the top 2 cards of your library every single time you cast Zacama. Well, that would be a problem if it wasn't for the removal that is stapled to Zacama. And it's the same way. If you're not able to win in a single turn, you can just destroy your mana doubling or the mutually beneficial mana doubling that everyone's getting with Zacama's ability to stifle your opponents. And the same goes with like Reki, History of Kamigawa, because that is also a mandatory effect. So is Elemental Bond, so is Kavu Lair, so is Garruk's Uprising. Another MVP in this deck is Selvala, Heart of the Wilds, because for 3 mana, it doesn't really come at a better rate. For first line of text, well, it is just so convenient that you are running a 9/9 Elder Dinosaur because there's a good chance you're going to draw a card off of that. And the second line of text, you're playing a 9/9 Elder Dinosaur. Now that you've accessed your whole library, what are you gonna do? We've already talked about Impact Tremors, we've already talked about Blind Obedience. Well, I've walked that line a few too many times, and if I just walked that line every time, I would ultimately just set the deck down, put it away, and take it apart eventually and never play it again. And that's why I'm playing cards like, Finale of Devastation is one, because you can just go get the spiciest thing in your grave or library and put it on the battlefield and win outright. I love going for a Blightsteel Colossus. I could sit here and refine the deck down to just ramping out, getting to Zacama, finding the combo piece, and looping infinitely and winning the same way every single time. That just isn't all that fun. You want to build a deck that is fun for other people to play against and fun for you to play. I hope you guys have enjoyed this deck profile on Zacama, Primal Calamity. You can find the deck list in the description below on my Archidec profile. Stay tuned for more episodes from Call Me Commander. And click that subscribe button, hit that little bell so you can know when the next video is coming. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye.